At 11:43 p.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. The kind of buzz that cuts through sleep like a scalpel. A text from my mother. We've decided you're not part of this family anymore. Don't show up to any family events. No call. No explanation. Just a digital disownment. 20 seconds later, my brother liked the message, like cruelty was something to celebrate. I didn't cry. I didn't call back. I just sat up, opened my laptop, pulled up every utility account, every loan document, every payment I'd been making for them, and started clicking cancel. By 11:58 p.m., their comfortable little world began crumbling in the dark. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me, where are you listening from? So I know I'm not the only one who's ever had to pull the plug on the people who were supposed to love me. When the screen dimmed, the silence in my one-bedroom apartment felt suffocating. The faint hum of the AC, the distant honking from the street below, it all sounded like witnesses to something irreversible. I sat there, fingers still hovering over the touchpad, pulse steady in a way that unnerved me. This wasn't rage, it was surgery. Clean, calculated, final. For 7 years, I'd been the invisible foundation holding up their lives. The electricity bill that never got cut off, my autopay, the broadband connection they used to stream shows and scroll Instagram, my credit card, the scooter insurance that magically renewed every year, my bank account, every panicked midnight call that started with, "We're short this month. Can you transfer something?" I had every single time. I told myself it was responsibility, duty, love. Now I saw it clearly. It had been a subscription service, and I was the only one paying the fees. I looked around my small apartment. Everything was organized, minimal, controlled. After a childhood drowning in chaos, I'd built my adult life around structure. But tonight, that same structure became a weapon. Every filed invoice, every email confirmation, every saved receipt, it was all evidence of my own foolishness. I used to think love meant sacrifice, that if I stayed silent and kept giving, they'd eventually see I mattered. My mother had fed me guilt the way other mothers serve breakfast. Daily, without question, expected. My brother Ryan was the golden child. Loud, confident, allergic to accountability. Dad had survived by staying neutral, never picking sides, never making waves. I'd survived by making sure there were no waves to begin with. I remember the first time I paid their house rent. They were 2 months behind. Voices shaking over the phone. Landlord threatening eviction. I was 25, living in a cramped studio apartment, surviving on instant noodles and coffee. But I transferred $32,000 without hesitation. $32,000. Money I didn't have but borrowed anyway because they needed me. Mom called me her angel. I believed her. Then came the water bill, the gas connection, Ryan's film school tuition, $95,000 a year for 3 years straight. $95,000 every single year for 3 consecutive years. Strange how angels always end up bankrolling other people's dreams while their own gather dust. I rubbed my face, trying to summon regret, but all I felt was clarity. Sharp, cold, certain. This wasn't a meltdown. It was an awakening. I wasn't losing a family. I was closing a bad investment. The last time I'd seen them in person was at a family dinner 5 months ago. Mom had criticized the way I dressed in front of everyone, said I looked too plain to ever attract a decent man. Ryan had bragged about his new motorcycle, the one I knew was running on the insurance I paid. Dad had joked that I was too serious to ever enjoy life. I'd smiled through the pasta and swallowed my dignity. That dining table had been a stage. I just hadn't realized I was the punchline. Now sitting in the cold glow of my laptop, I opened a new Excel sheet. Date, amount, purpose, proof. My fingers moved like they'd been rehearsing this for years. One cell at a time, I was taking back 7 years of stolen respect. Outside, the city lights blinked through my window like distant stars. Somewhere in that same city, my family was sleeping soundly, convinced I'd finally learned my place. They had no idea the reckoning had just begun. By morning, my phone was a graveyard of notifications. Dad, Mom, Ryan, 15 missed calls, 23 unread messages, each name blinking like a ghost I no longer believed in. I didn't open a single one. The silence between us had weight now. It was deliberate. The first message I actually read wasn't from my mother. It was from Ryan. "Sis, you're overreacting. Mom didn't mean it like that. Let's just talk, okay?" Talk. As if that word hadn't been weaponized against me my entire life. I read it twice and realized there wasn't a single apology in it. Just manipulation wrapped in fake concern. I deleted it and returned to my spreadsheet. Each row I filled was a memory converted into numbers. The exact date I'd covered Ryan's tuition, the overdraft charges, from when Dad used my debit card for gas and never paid me back. The month I'd skipped buying myself a winter coat to pay their property tax. Every dollar was a story, and every story ended the same way, with me cleaning up after their carelessness. At 9:30 a.m., Mum finally sent an email. No greeting, no acknowledgement of what she'd said the night before. Just, we need to discuss what you've done. You've created a huge problem. Call immediately. Not a word about the exile. No mention of the cruelty. Just a command to resume my role as the family ATM. Fixer, buffer, silent servant. For the first time, I understood. The family I thought I was protecting had never needed protection. They needed a sponsor. I typed back. I'm busy reviewing my finances. You should do the same. Then I hit send. The phone rang within 30 seconds. I let it vibrate on the table until it stopped. By noon, the panic had begun spreading like wildfire. A text from Dad. Honey, what's going on with the internet? Your mother is very upset. Please call. Another from Ryan. Why are you doing this? You're destroying everything we've built. Destroying everything. As if my silence was the real crime, not their years of exploitation. I opened my bank statement, scrolled through endless debits, and felt something fundamental shift inside me. The guilt that had lived in my chest like a second skeleton began to crack. This wasn't anger anymore. It was arithmetic. Cold, precise, unforgiving. By 3 p.m., they'd cycled through every tactic. Anger, guilt, nostalgia. Mom even posted a cryptic Facebook status. Some children forget their roots once they start earning. Pride always comes before a fall. It got 62 reactions, mostly from relatives who'd never once checked on me. I didn't reply, but I screenshotted it. That was the moment something inside me locked into place. For the first time, I realized silence could be a sword. At 6:15 p.m., I called Jenna. She'd been my roommate in college, now a lawyer specializing in family disputes and financial recovery. I think I'm ready to stop being their accountant, I said quietly. She didn't need context, just said, then start documenting everything like evidence. We'll formalize it. That night, I went through every bank statement, every payment screenshot, every email thread, organizing them like exhibits in a trial. The more I compiled, the lighter I felt. By 1 a.m., my cloud storage looked like a legal case file, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't the defendant. By the second night, the silence had a rhythm, the kind that hums before thunder cracks the sky. My laptop sat open in the dim light, each tab a portal into years of unreciprocated sacrifice. Electricity, internet, insurance, rent deposits. They'd built their peace on my exhaustion, and I was done being the foundation. At 11 p.m., Jenna called. Everything ready, every receipt, I said. Every transaction. Good. Then you're not requesting repayment, Olivia. You're enforcing it. She walked me through the exact wording. A formal legal notice. Detached. Clinical. Devastating. Subject. Outstanding financial liabilities. Mitchell family account. Body. This serves as formal notice of repayment due for financial support extended between 2018 and 2025. You have 30 days to propose a repayment plan before legal proceedings are initiated. No emotion, no accusations, just facts wrapped in legal language. When I clicked send, the silence that followed wasn't empty. It vibrated. 13 minutes later, the first reply arrived. Dad, let's be reasonable, sweetheart. Mom, how could you even think of doing this to us? Ryan, you've completely lost it. You're tearing this family apart. I stared at their words, steady, unmoved. Every message was identical in its denial. They weren't shocked by what they'd done. They were shocked that I'd stopped pretending it was okay. At 11:47 p.m., my phone exploded. Calls, messages, voice notes. The panic was real now. Turn everything back on. Mom's voice cracked in a recording. We'll sort this out properly tomorrow, I promise. But tomorrow had already arrived, and they were the ones stumbling in the dark. Jenna's message appeared moments later. Perfect. Forward everything. I'm filing the demand letter. First thing in the morning, I leaned back, staring at the blinking cursor over my name, Olivia Mitchell. It struck me how many times I'd signed that name to rescue them. On guarantor forms, loan applications, rental agreements. Every signature had been an act of love. Tonight, it became evidence. At 12:20 a.m., another text from Ryan. You think this makes you powerful. You're just heartless. Heartless. The word used to wound me. Now it felt factual. My kindness had been a credit card they'd maxed out years ago. I poured myself water. My hands didn't shake. This wasn't revenge. It was reconciliation. Before shutting down, I opened one final tab. The motorcycle motorcycle registration papers. The Harley Davidson they'd been using for 3 years, the one Ryan posed with in every Instagram story, was still registered in my name. I'd never transferred ownership. Out of caution, out of instinct. Now that instinct was ammunition. By sunrise, Jenna had sent the finalized legal notice. She ended with one line that made me smile for the first time in days. They said you're not family. Let's make it official. Outside, the streetlights blinked off as morning broke. Inside, my laptop glowed with a different kind of dawn. The kind built from spreadsheets, timestamps, and quiet resistance. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel small or invisible. I felt exact. The morning the notices went out, the world outside moved normally. Coffee shops opening, traffic humming, people rushing to work. But inside my apartment, it felt like standing at the edge of a verdict. Jenna had sent the demand letters by certified mail and email. Every receipt attached, every transaction documented, every signature verified. At 9:05 a.m., my phone buzzed. Dad! He never called first. Sweetheart, he started. Voice soft, rehearsed. This is getting out of hand. Let's handle this privately. Within the family, I let the silence stretch until he stumbled. It is private, I said evenly. It's just finally documented. He exhaled sharply. You're making your mother sick with worry. No, I replied, voice steady as stone. She made herself sick. I just stopped paying for the cure. Click. By noon, Mom's post appeared on Facebook. A wall of self-pity dressed in moral language. We gave her everything. Now she's turned against her own parents for money. Pride truly comes before destruction. Within minutes, Aunt Linda commented, shameful behavior. I'd be ashamed if I were you. But then something unexpected happened. Other names appeared. Cousins. Distant relatives. People I barely knew. Wait, isn't she the one who paid off your house when you were in foreclosure? Didn't she fund Ryan's entire film school? The thread fractured. Their narrative cracked. At 1:52 p.m., an email landed in my inbox. Unknown sender. Subject. Estate inquiry. This is Margaret Chen from the Riverside County Probate Office. We're handling your late grandmother's estate. We've found irregularities in the beneficiary documentation. My hand froze on the mouse. Irregularities. Yes, Ms. Mitchell. It appears your name was removed from the will and replaced. The signature doesn't match. We're flagging it for fraud investigation. The kitchen renovation. The new furniture. The timeline clicked into place like a lock. My mother hadn't just drained my accounts. She'd erased me from my grandmother's will and forged my signature to do it. By evening, Jenna had filed an injunction. The court froze their accounts before sunset. That night, they tried everything. Emails, texts, voice messages, all variations of the same script. It was a misunderstanding. We'll pay you back. Don't destroy this family. The irony was almost poetic. At 8:40 p.m., the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw my mother, eyes swollen, clutching a crumpled tissue. Olivia, she whispered. Please, we're losing everything. Think about your brother. Think about Ryan. I asked through the door. Her voice wavered. He's still your brother. I opened the door just wide enough to hand her an envelope I'd prepared hours earlier. Inside was a copy of the eviction notice Jenna had filed that morning. You'll get the official one in 7 days, I said. Her face went pale. You wouldn't actually do this. I already did, I said, and closed the door. I didn't watch her leave. I just stood in the stillness, breathing in the end of an era I'd been suffocating in for years. By the next afternoon, the dominoes fell in perfect sequence. Electricity disconnected. Rent notice served. Court summons delivered. Jenna forwarded confirmations one by one. Title secured. Eviction approved. Fraud case filed. Then the storm hit online. Mom posted again. She's suing her own parents. We raised her. We're heartbroken. But this time, the replies weren't sympathetic. Aunt Sarah, always quiet, commented just one line. You mean the inheritance you forged her name on? The thread went silent. Hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number. California area code. This is David Park from National Trust Legal Services. We're reviewing your grandmother's will. Your name was illegally removed. We're reversing the probate. I gripped the counter. How long will that take? It's already in motion, Ms. Mitchell. You were the rightful heir. You'll receive what was always yours. By midnight, Jenna confirmed the filing. Inheritance fraud. Asset freeze. Another layer of truth exposed. In the days that followed, the story rippled quietly through the extended family. One by one, Relatives reached out. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. They borrowed from us too. Never paid back. You're not wrong, Olivia. You're just the first one brave enough to say it. Every message felt like a lifeboat in a flood I'd been drowning in alone. When the official court order arrived, Jenna called. They'll try to contact you again. Don't respond. Even if they apologize. She paused. Especially if they apologize. The next morning, my inbox overflowed. Mom's new strategy. Remorse. We forgive you for all of this. Please forgive us too. Let's move forward. Forgiveness is negotiation. The oldest tactic in the manual. I forwarded it to Jenna and archived the thread without reply. By the end of the week, the house was no longer theirs. The deed, still in my name, transferred cleanly. Jenna handled the sale. The deposit hit my account 3 days later. Watching that confirmation line appear didn't feel like victory. It felt like equilibrium. Ryan sent one last message. You won. Happy now? I typed back. Nobody wins when family becomes a transaction. Then muted his number permanently. That night, the city outside hummed indifferently. I sat by the window, the same one that had once reflected years of sleepless nights spent rescuing them. Now it reflected someone different, someone lighter, unburdened. Somewhere out there, they were learning to survive without me propping them up. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty for walking away. By the time the courts finalized everything, a month had passed in strange, weightless silence. Jenna sent a brief email. Case closed. Repayment terms agreed. Probate corrected. You're free. Free. The word felt foreign on my tongue. Their accounts were unfrozen under strict payment conditions. The motorcycle was transferred back to them with monthly payments owed. The house sold. Their debts finally tied to their own names. The silence I used to fear had transformed into peace. I no longer woke to frantic calls or guilt-drenched texts. My mornings belonged to me again. I rented a small apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, just clean walls, sunlight, and no ghosts. My friend Marcus helped me move in. He didn't say much, just handed me a cup of coffee and smiled like he understood what freedom tasted like. The first night there, I opened my old spreadsheet, the one where I'd tracked every dollar I'd spent on them for 7 years. I stared at the numbers for a long time. $285,000. $285,000. Then I hit delete. Watching it vanish didn't feel like loss. It felt like release. Word got around that my parents were renting a small house outside the city. Ryan was working part-time at a coffee shop, something he swore he'd never do. I didn't feel satisfaction, just distance. They were finally living the life they'd built without me holding it up. That night, for the first time in years, I slept through until morning. No guilt, no noise, just the steady, quiet hum of a life that finally belonged to me. A month later, I visited my grandmother's grave. I laid down roses, her favorite, and whispered, "It's done." The wind felt like an answer. Peace isn't loud. It's quiet, steady, earned. If you've ever had to walk away from the people who broke you, you know this. You're not alone, and you're not cruel for choosing yourself. If this story hit home, check out the Family Betrayal playlist for more real stories like mine. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter. By the time the courts finalized everything, a month had passed in strange, weightless silence. Jenna sent a brief email. Case closed. Repayment terms agreed. Probate corrected. You're free. Free. The word felt foreign on my tongue. Their accounts were unfrozen under strict payment conditions. The motorcycle was transferred back to them with monthly payments owed. The house sold. Their debts finally tied to their own names. The silence I used to fear had transformed into peace. I no longer woke to frantic calls or guilt-drenched texts. My mornings belonged to me again. I rented a small apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, just clean walls, sunlight, and no ghosts. My friend Marcus helped me move in. He didn't say much, just handed me a cup of coffee and smiled like he understood what freedom tasted like. The first night there, I opened my old spreadsheet, the one where I'd tracked every dollar I'd spent on them for 7 years. I stared at the numbers for a long time. $285,000. $285,000. 7 years of my life converted into a number that should have bought me gratitude, but only purchased resentment. Then I hit delete. Watching it vanish didn't feel like loss. It felt like release. Word got around that my parents were renting a small house outside the city. Ryan was working part-time at a coffee shop, something he swore he'd never do. I didn't feel satisfaction, just distance. They were finally living the life they'd built without me holding it up. 3 weeks after everything settled, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside Inside was a single card, handwritten, from my grandmother's sister, Aunt Rose, someone I'd only met twice at family gatherings. Olivia, your grandmother would be proud. She always knew you had steel in your spine. Don't ever apologize for standing up straight. I taped it to my refrigerator. Some days, I needed the reminder. Work became easier. I'd been carrying the weight of their emergencies into every meeting, every deadline, every performance review. Now, without the constant background noise of their chaos, I could finally focus. My boss noticed. Within 2 months, I got the promotion I'd been passed over for 3 times. The raise alone covered what I used to send them monthly. The irony wasn't lost on me. One evening, I was grocery shopping when I saw him. Dad, standing in the cereal aisle, looking older than I remembered. Dinner. He saw me at the same moment. For 3 seconds, we just stared. Then he opened his mouth like he was going to say something. I shook my head once, turned my card around, walked away. He didn't follow. That small moment of restraint, him not following, felt like the closest thing to respect he'd ever given me. Ryan tried a different approach. 6 weeks after everything finalized, he showed up at my office building. The receptionist called up, "There's a Ryan Mitchell here to see you." My stomach dropped, but my voice stayed steady. "Tell him I'm in meetings all day." She paused. "He says he'll wait." "Then he'll be waiting a long time," I said, and hung up. I left through the side entrance that evening. He never came back. The hardest part wasn't the confrontations or the legal battles. It was the quiet moments when muscle memory kicked in, reaching for my phone to text mom about something funny I'd seen, almost calling dad for advice about my car, then remembering the family I'd known didn't exist anymore. Maybe it never had. I was mourning a fiction. Therapy helped. Dr. Patel didn't judge, didn't push, just listened as I unraveled 7 years of conditioning. "You weren't responsible for their choices," she'd say. "You were just convenient." Convenient. That word hurt more than cruel ever did, because it was true. I hadn't been loved. I'd been useful, but slowly, in the spaces where guilt used to live, something else grew. Confidence, boundaries, self-respect. I started saying no without explaining myself. Started spending money on things I wanted, not things other people needed. Bought a painting for my living room. Enrolled in a pottery class. Small things that felt revolutionary. 4 months after the exile text, I was at a coffee shop when a woman approached me, mid-50s, kind eyes, nervous energy. "Excuse me, are you Olivia Mitchell?" I tensed. "Yes," she smiled, almost crying. "I'm your cousin Grace's mother. I just wanted to say thank you. Grace told me what you did, what you exposed. My sister, your mother, she borrowed $15,000 from us 5 years ago, never paid it back. After your case, we finally asked for it in writing. She's paying us monthly now." Her voice cracked. "You gave us permission to stop being doormats." We talked for 20 minutes. She told me about 3 other relatives who'd done the same. Filed claims, drew boundaries, stopped funding my parents' delusions. I'd accidentally started a revolution, one spreadsheet at a time. That night, for the first time in years, I slept through until morning. No guilt, no noise, just the steady, quiet hum of a life that finally belonged to me. A month later, I visited my grandmother's grave. I laid down roses, her favorite, and whispered, "It's done. I kept the promise you made me make. I chose myself." The wind felt like an answer. 6 months after that text message, I was different. Not harder, not colder, just clearer. I knew what I was worth now, and it wasn't measured in dollars, or sacrifices, or how much suffering I could endure quietly. I ran into Mom one last time, at a pharmacy. She looked smaller somehow. Tired. She saw me, froze, then looked away quickly, pretended to study a shelf of vitamins she clearly wasn't interested in. I could have walked past, should have maybe, but something in me needed to say it out loud, just once. "Mom." She turned, eyes wide, defensive. I kept my voice level, calm. "I don't hate you, but I don't forgive you either, and I'm okay with that." Her mouth opened, closed. No words came out. I nodded once and walked away. It wasn't closure, but it was completion. Peace isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or grand moments. It's quiet, steady, earned. It's waking up without dread. It's a bank account that's finally yours. It's a future that doesn't include funding someone else's past. If you've ever had to walk away from the people who broke you, you know this truth. You're not alone, and you're not cruel for choosing yourself. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences they've been running from. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stop being kind. My name is Olivia Mitchell. I'm 32 years old, and I'm the daughter who had to exile her family before they finished erasing her. This is my story, and if it sounds like yours, know this. The letter you send doesn't have to be written in words. Sometimes it's written in boundaries, in cancelled payments, in legal documents, in the simple, powerful act of walking away, and they'll never forget it. If this story hit home, check out the Family Betrayal playlist for more real stories like mine. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter, because we all deserve to write our own endings.